town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back, folks. Technology, the bane of my existence. Anyway, we're having some issues here today, but hopefully everything's coming through just wonderful on your end. Hey, tomorrow, looking ahead, Joe Henry with LULAC, that's a Latino activist group, and Joseph Glazberg, a local attorney, going to join me to talk about Matt Schultz, Secretary of State Matt Schultz's efforts to suppress the vote. Yeah, that's our spin on it, but I think you can make a strong argument that what he wants to do will reduce voter turnout and do nothing to protect us from the very, very rare incidents of voter fraud. We're also going to talk with Joseph about the No Wiggins campaign. This is the campaign coordinated by Bob Vanderplatz to oust Justice David Wiggins from the Supreme Court, as he was able to do a couple years ago with the other three justices who voted in favor of the Varnum decision supporting marriage equality back on April 9th, or April 3rd, rather, of 2009, I believe. Interesting poll today in the paper on that issue, too, because it looks like the majority of Iowans now are saying they will vote to retain Wiggins. Also tomorrow, we're going to have a visitor talking about an upcoming event that I don't have in front of me because my computer's not connected to the internet, but it's about the Miracle of Birth event coming up later this week at Jasper Winery. That's going to be this coming Friday at Jasper Winery at 6 p.m. The Willow Song Health Clinic in Sherman Hill is putting that event on. Also, Wednesday, Democratic candidate for the Iowa House, Ken Herring, joining us. And Heather Ryan will be back with me to take a look at the debate that evening. What do we expect to happen? What can we kind of look for ahead of time with the debate between President Obama and Mitt Romney Wednesday evening? And also Wednesday, Mary Beth Gardam with the Move to Amend campaign joins us. Thursday, Tim Reynolds with Reynolds Energy Solution, talking about energy efficiency and related matters. Also, West Branch City Councilman David Johnson, who also ran for the State House, will be my guest, as well as State Representative Dan Kelly. Friday, we have our own debate here. Patty Bronco, Republican candidate for the House, and Bruce Hunter, Democratic State Representative from the South Central District in Des Moines, will be my guests for a full hour-long debate. Speaking of debate, Ron Yarnell is with me in the studio. Ron is an occasional caller to this show, and almost always says something astute. Almost always. Can I say that? You want me to say always, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
A little bit. Is that an Indians hat you're wearing?
No.
Aye.
What kind of Des Moines guy are you? This is an iCubs hat.
I was just kidding. I was testing you. Yeah. I was hoping you weren't a Cleveland Indians fan. I'd have to throw you out of the studio right now.
I'm not.
All right, good. So you posed a question. I mean, many of us feel the Democratic Party has gone astray. Some feel it has become the other party of corporate America. I get frustrated by people who say there's no difference anymore, because I think there is a difference, and I think you need to be honest about the distinctions, but also honest about the ways in which the Democratic Party is failing to really move the debate forward. And some feel that the Democratic Party, is becoming less connected to the needs of the average person, or as some would say, has lost its soul. You argued, I think, or maybe I misunderstood this, but my impression was that you're saying that the Democratic Party lost its soul back in 2000 when not one single U.S. senator agreed to defend the Black Caucus in the U.S. House.
One did?
What?
One did?
Not one.
Not one.
Not even Paul Wellstone.
Well, you use provocative language. Did the Democratic
host, sorry.
Did the Democratic Party lose its soul? And that raises the question: do any political parties have souls to lose? But you know what? Some years ago, I was traveling in Italy, and I was in Florence, and I was in a basilica. If you've ever been to Italy, you know every 10 feet there's a basilica. And I was in there, and I found myself in front of the tomb of Niccolo Machiavelli, who's the father of modern, the intellectual father of modern politics. So maybe political parties have a soul.
He and Ayn Rand would have made a great couple.
Well, yeah. What I'm looking at, well, for one thing, on the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party certainly has the dark side of its history. Once it was the Jim Crow Party, the Slavery Party. Its World War I legacy is very dubious. Woodrow Wilson established what we consider today the national security state to get us into the war. But more recently, I'm wondering, why is the Democratic Party so, for lack of a better word, so wimpy? Why doesn't it fight? What's up with that? And I'm looking back and I'm wondering what kind of watershed moment was the 2000 election, where basically the Democratic candidate won the popular vote. We still don't know.
And you could argue that Gore won the electoral vote as well.
And you could argue that, but we don't know because the Supreme Court decided to shut that down. So it did. Yeah. And the Supreme Court, which is a very partisan body, as we know, handed the election to George W. Bush. And it seems to me that since then, I don't know. It's almost like the Democratic Party has lost control of the narrative, and that's been going on for 30 or 40 years, and now it's just speeding up.
And do you think, I mean, it seems like the narrative is in this case, in this election, Barack Obama has the narrative down. I mean, and maybe it's partly because Mitt Romney seems intent upon sticking his foot into his mouth repeatedly.
Well, it's because, yes, Mitt Romney is an awful candidate, and the Republican Party, the contradictions within the Republican Party are coming out to contradict each other, for lack of a better phrase. But the 2000 election happened. What did the Democrats learn from that? You know, you think from the 2000 election, the Democratic Party would say, voters are good. We like voters. And what would help us if we really went on the crusade to systematize and make more efficient the voting process in this country, rather than leave it up to the bizarre jigsaw puzzle it is that caused all that confusion in Florida with butterfly ballots and everything else.
Well, Democrats have been fighting against some of the voter suppression initiatives that secretaries of state are leading.
Why did that come up? Because the Republicans are looking back at 2000 and said, wow, we may have won the presidency on the basis of 100 votes either way.
Yeah.
So voter suppression is a good thing. We want to do it. We want more of it because look what happened in 2000. So the Republicans learned from that experience, but I don't see any Democratic learning curve. And then you have a Democratic Party that seems to be content to basically allow the Republicans to control the narrative. President Obama, his biggest victory as president has been Obamacare, which is what? It's the Republican moderate.
Well, it's not much different than Romney Care from Massachusetts.
It's Romney Care on the national scale. It's a Republican idea. And of course, the Republicans, for political reasons, they have abandoned it. They have denounced it. Yeah, but it's a Republican idea. So you have the Democratic incumbent, and he's defending himself on the basis that he passed a Republican measure. And it goes back to, Harry Truman. What did he say? If the choice is between a Republican and the Republican will win every time. I believe that if the Republican Party had a more competent candidate, especially when you're talking 8% unemployment, that President Obama would be in serious difficulty. Yeah. Rather than being out ahead, because
the economic signs are pointing up, which is definitely going to be helping him. I mean, it's not just Mitt Romney and also saying so many bizarre things that alienate him from the voters. And
also the Republican Party just deciding it wants to beat up on voters, beginning maybe during Misogynist March and continuing to 47% September, and just beating the stuffing out of voters for no reason one can understand.
One constituency after another.
And
women,
also
Latinos.
And also people realize
47%.
that, they're not happy with Obama, but, there is a narrative that's up for approval. For example, if the Republicans win, does that mean there is such a thing as legitimate rape and illegitimate rape? Okay.
Well, I think even Republicans have distanced themselves from Todd Aiken, except for Santorum and a few
If
others.
Romney wins, for example, does that mean that half the country are freeloaders who don't take personal responsibility for themselves? I think that all these things are brought to bear. Yesterday I was watching football, and I did enjoy the political commercials because there was a Romney commercial trying to do a little bit common man kind of stuff. And right after that came the Obama 47% commercial. But basically, my question is, with the Democratic Party, are they really the party of the working class, the people, the average Joe, or are they just kind of Republican light? And if that be the case,
yeah. So the real turning point, in your opinion, the point where you can say, wow, the Democrats really abandoned the people in a huge way, was the 2000 election when no U.S. senator came on board to because really, if a U.S. senator had done that, had supported the Congressional Black Caucus, there would have been a challenge to the court ruling, and that very well would have led to a different outcome. I don't understand why was not Al Gore fighting?
You and I have traded emails, and we've talked about this before. I think the problem with the Democratic Party goes back to 1947 with the Taft-Hartley Act, and we're trying to put something together to explain that. When the Democratic Party, for reasons that no one can understand, really backed off of being Labor's party. Yes, they will use labor unions, just like the Republicans will use religious conservative groups. But then when the election's over, those groups are put away and put out for later. That kind of is a sore issue with me. But 2000 is just a lack of gumption on the Democratic Party to take action. I mean, why did
not even Paul Wellstone? I don't understand that.
Occupy Wall Street, Occupy the Capitol should have taken place in 2000. An election was stolen. The people's voice was denied. Okay, by the popular vote, Gore was ahead by 500,000 votes. Mm-hmm. We don't know.
Again, that doesn't matter.
At the very least, there should have been a demand to get the exact vote out of Florida. Yeah. And then the question is raised, if you can't get an exact vote, well, we're in the information age. How come we can't do that? What's up that we can't get an exact vote?
Yeah. It's a really good question.
And why aren't the Democrats fighting for these issues, especially because they do call themselves the Democratic Party? So you think that democracy would be important to them?
Well, my sense again is that the Democrats, and I saw this change during my time in politics when I first got elected in '92. Democrats were almost always outspent by Republicans. Democrats won based on shoe leather. That has changed. Democrats now raise as much as, and in some cases, more money than Republican candidates.
And then you got to really ask the question, and I'm very influenced by Chris Hedges along these lines. Noam Chomsky.
You look a little bit like Chris Hedges.
Thank you. Also, Noam Chomsky. Are these two major political parties, are they really political parties in any sense that we want to believe, or are they just both kind of corporate shills and they have this kind of kabuki democracy going on where they play the role and there's a contest and the media likes contests, but in real essence, like, as the Who used to sing, here comes the new boss, same as the old boss.
Well, so what's a homeless partisan like yourself, living under a bridge that where the political parties are ignoring you and a lot of people. I mean, this is your feeling. You're being ignored. Yeah, Mitt Romney's been clear about the 47%, but you're saying Democratic priorities aren't lining up with the 47%'s needs and interests either.
Only to the extent that Republican priorities line up with social conservatives during the election season.
So what do you do what do you do when you go to the voting booth?
I will likely vote. I don't want the Republican narrative to be affirmed, as I think it will be if Romney wins during the election. I don't want all the basically really nutty stuff to become mainstream. So my voting is I know how I'm going to vote.
I mean, for Obama, I presume.
I'm going to vote for Obama.
So, but wait a minute, why? I mean, why not? I mean, I am too.
But the thing is, it's to me, it's what I exactly for the first time in my life, 4 years ago, thought I wasn't doing. It's going to be a defensive vote, rather. In 2008, we thought we were voting for a whole new way of doing things. We got caught up in the flash and of the moment, and in some ways, something. I mean, if a black man is elected to the president of the United States, something has changed.
Yeah.
And you can tell by all the craziness that has stirred up.
Whose last name is one letter off from the guy who, the most reviled person in the world from an American's point of view.
No, not his last name, his middle name.
Sorry, his middle name.
His last name's a fine Irish name.
Osama, man.
Yeah.
Osama, yeah.
But so I'm going to vote, but I'm not expecting anything other than keeping forces that I don't particularly care for at bay. That's a defensive vote. I don't like voting. I feel like I've voted like that all my life, and I'm so tired of it. And it's the reason that people are discouraged from voting, because you're right. Let's not call it the lesser of two evils, but it doesn't get you in a mood where you really feel good about being a citizen.
So, but how do we change the political scenario? We have a two-party system, and I know people are always saying, well, we need a third party. Okay. The problem is we have a two-party system. Like it, dislike it, it is the reality. It is the vehicle we have to drive.
Right now, I see really the best hope for democracy would be you had them as guests at the beginning of the program, Occupy. Occupy to me, it's more than just economic issues. It's about how power in this country has become so inequitable. Power has become so dysfunctional in this country. How 1% of the country really doesn't care what happens to the rest of the country. To me, that was what Occupy was about. Right. It wasn't just about getting a job. It was about the problem that our democracy really is on life support at this point. Yeah. And to me, putting people in the streets in a highly disciplined, nonviolent way, with as much cooperation from the authorities as possible. I love the fact that there was a good relationship in Des Moines between
because I saw a totally different relationship in New York City with the New York Police Department.
Right.
Wow.
But to me, and I don't know where that will lead, but to me, that at least is the beginning in restoring some health to our democracy.
But I do think it has to go beyond. There has to be a political element to this too. Either it's reclaiming the Democratic Party, replacing it, or somehow getting a third party viable to the point where it can influence one of the two major parties to make changes that they're avoiding right now.
Well, first of all, you got to put the people out in the streets before you even get to that point.
All right. Hey, Ron Yarnell has been my guest, folks. Thanks so much for joining us, Ron. We'll have to do this again sometime. We're going to be back tomorrow. Joseph Glazebrook and Joe Henry. We're going to be talking about voter suppression. We're also going to be talking about the no Wiggins vote. I want to thank Maddie Arrington, my producer, for doing a bang-up job at keeping this program moving forward. I want to thank the Webcast One live studio. And I want to thank all of you for taking the time to participate in this conversation. You can always call in and join the talk as well. You can view podcasts on my website, fallonforum.com. And if you really believe in what we're doing, if you really want to see this alternative to the hate mongering on commercial radio, please do your part to support this. Financially, it costs money to do this. It costs money to keep Bradshaw going forward. Again, we don't make much of a living doing this at all. We squeak by, but there are other costs involving production, various other expenses that make this an effort that we can't do without your help. So go to my website, fallonforum.com. Do your part. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, 12 o'clock noon. In the meantime, stay tuned for Bradshaw. Up with you shortly.
I'm just saying. 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 Ching ching. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Chat now with someone who cares at groundwire.net.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa.